Hey guys, welcome back to Gaming for Immersion and the ongoing series of videos about fixing all the many problems with vanilla siege battles. My name is Michael, and whereas that first video focused on the troops defending your settlements, in this video I want to do a deep dive into the settlement defenses themselves, the walls and towers and gates and barricades. But the first thing I want to do is give a huge thanks to all of you who commented on the first video because you brought up a lot of good points. A few of them in particular I want to address here, but it was a good debate happening in the comments section, and I think that's good for the game, provided it permeates one way or another to the ears of the designers and developers. We can only hope in any case. Anyway, one recurring comment was that increasing garrison size will not fix siege battles. And to this comment, I say I agree. I should have made this more clear in that first video. Increasing garrisons are merely only an easy first step. There's definitely more that we can do. Another common component on the first video was if siege battles are bad, then increasing garrisons only makes a bad part of the game take even more time. And a related comment was that siege battles are just fundamentally broken and can't be fixed. As to all that, I say I partially agree. They can't be fixed completely, but they can be improved. And that's what these videos are about. Whether this improvement is enough for you is obviously a decision each player has to make for themselves. I can only say that I find the improved siege battles really enjoyable, if also sometimes frustrating. But if you find that even with these improvements, siege battles are an unfun experience for you, then of course I get that and admit you're better off not wasting time trying to fix them or watching this video for that matter. Another thing that comes up in comments on just about every video, and for good reason, is why not just use SFO? Well, I really like SFO, and I use it in about half the Let's Plays on this channel, and it does indeed accomplish some of the same things the other mods I'm suggesting do. So I really should have mentioned it in that first video, that's on me. At the same time, SFO does a lot more than address siege battles, and all the changes it makes don't necessarily appeal to everyone, and it often takes a long time to get updated every time CA releases a patch, so I wanted to give players an alternative to stay closer to the vanilla Warhammer campaigns, but still improve settlement battles. Alright, let's talk about another topic that came up in the discussion that gets to the crux of today's video. That defending the walls should be more meaningful. Adding more units makes it possible to spread out and cover all the walls that can be assaulted by attackers, but on its own, it doesn't necessarily make doing so the optimal way to defend. I know a lot of players have figured out that it's often more useful to abandon the walls and fight in whatever choke points the map layouts provide. Just as an aside, by the way, the map layouts are a huge problem, and I'll talk about them here in a few minutes. Anyway, since defending the walls is often suboptimal, that's a problem. It's not realistic, it's not functional, and it's not fun. Why deprive yourself of the enjoyment of watching hordes of attackers get wrecked as they throw themselves at your walls, only to see you pull back to another strong position just as they think they can finally engage with you in melee? Needing to get the timing right as you withdraw your troops from one line of defense back to the next is a fundamental part of tactics and something that should be rewarded in-game. But it's not in vanilla if those walls are going to get bypassed or overrun so quickly the defenders don't have a chance. On the flip side, when the player is the attacker launching assaults on the walls, it should be way more difficult and costly than it currently is. So how do we accomplish this? Well, this brings us to our first mod suggestion. Tougher siege tweaks by opposing farce. I'm going to read just a little bit from the mod page description. This mod aims to tweak sieges to generally be less forgiving to the attacker, but through tweaks that are meant to be compatible and not stray from vanilla balance drastically. Towers now have firing arcs that are a full 180 degrees. Ladders take twice as long to climb and are twice as exhausting. Gate and tower capture, it now takes twice as many unit points to begin flipping a tower flag. Morale, units standing on walls receive plus 15 morale, making them less likely to flee. And capture points, capturing a main settlement point takes twice as long, 120 seconds or 2 minutes, and capturing main and minor settlement points requires 3 times as many unit points. And of course, as the author points out, this is not necessarily balanced. The mod is driven by personal taste. Again, I very much agree with what the mod author is doing here. I like the change in balance, but there is another option that I'll mention here in a minute for people who don't like all of these changes. So as you see this mod in the background here, this is a good time to point out one huge problem with Warhammer 3 that unfortunately no mod can fix. There is a massive gate bug where once you start attacking it and the defenders open it and engage you, the gate can no longer be attacked, but neither can units move through this great big wide opening that beckons them forward. It's a huge problem. It's been around a long time, and CA really needs to get their shit together and fix it already. Sorry, I get worked up about it. Anyway, you can see in action how the mod does affect other things, making our superior units really struggle to take the walls. We only win this battle because of Archaon himself, and we suffer lots of casualties even in victory, and I have to say, I love it. Needless to say, if you don't want capturing the walls to be more difficult, then this mod is not going to be for you. There is an alternative option for players who want less dramatic changes, and that is increased range, fire arc, and health for wall towers by Serb. In his own words, this mod boosts tower range, fire arc, and health for all wall towers. I chose to buff these things largely to make attacking a walled city more difficult as a player, and will have almost no change when defending a wall against an AI enemy. They will already do stupid things like sit inside your tower range and refuse to destroy your towers. When attacking, however, you'll find you can no longer just sit outside of tower range on almost any map, and towers will be more difficult to take down. Not only does this make siege equipment more valuable, but incentivizes you to attack the wall straight away instead of camping outside of tower range until your artillery takes them out. Anyway, so I think it's probably a pretty good balance for people who don't want all of the changes that the previous mod makes. I know some people will want to use the Ass Ladders Be Gone mod instead, and that's fine. I'm not going to go into detail here because I made a whole video talking about that mod and its pros and cons, but I did want to mention it here as another option. If you're interested in that video, I'll link it in the description below. So what about the arcade game approach to tower building that CA implemented? Personally, I think it's fairly awful. Objectively, it's quite unrealistic as well, except when it comes to building barricades, which you could argue can be more of an impromptu thing that can happen in the course of battles. But anyway, my recommendation is to use No Real-Time Building Reborn by Lamakazi or Yamakazi, not sure which way he pronounces that, which eliminates the power to build towers and barricades in the middle of battle, but compensates by increasing the number of them that can be built before the battle begins. Taking a look at the mod page, its changes are: temporary towers and walls buildable with supplies can now only be built during the deployment phase for siege and minor settlement battles. In other words, after the battle has started, both the player and the AI can no longer build in real time, nor are supplies something you need to manage during battle anymore. Sources of supplies everywhere have increased significantly in order to place the emphasis that the building and preparation happened before the battle had even begun. Main benefits to these changes include: this works for both the player and the AI, balancing out your convenience with the enemy also receiving the same benefits and restrictions. less micromanagement during battles, which is especially key given how drawn out some of these siege and settlement battles can get. And of course, that right there is exacerbated a little bit if we're using some of these other mods that I recommend, including going back to the previous video and adding to the garrisons. Anyway, can also be combined with most other buildable tower mods, like my other tower mod that reduces the range of the buildable towers in siege and settlement battles, which this mod includes a link to right there. That's not personally one that I use, but obviously each person can make up their own opinion on that. Anyway, as the mod author alludes to there, it's far more realistic and requires less micro from the player in the heat of battle, and whether that's a good thing or not is up to each person. I can believe there are plenty of people who really prefer the arcade game speed of vanilla, but I know from comments that there are also plenty of us who don't see that as an improvement over previous Total War games. And I think this segues into something I want to talk about for a minute: the map layouts. There's a lot of time that could be spent on this topic, and this video is already getting to be long enough, so I'll just say that they leave a lot of room for improvement. Some are fine, but some are absolutely atrocious. Just a couple of key points. Major cities like Altdorf deserve a unique map. Instead, it gets not only a generic map, but one of the very worst, as there are multiple sections of the walls that can be approached with 0 towers to fire on attackers. This is a recurring problem in many minor settlement battles as well, where towers and barricades are located in places that seem to be designed to drive engineers or anyone with a sense of defensive tactics completely crazy. Examples include having 3 approaches to a control point and then only putting barricades at 2 of them, or having interior towers that are placed so far back they can't fire at attackers as they come towards the control point, or towers connected to control points that would likely be captured before the tower would ever get a chance to fire. I have no reason to think they will, but I'm really hoping CA fixes some of these maps or releases some new ones, and sadly, I wish I could, but I can't currently recommend the modded map layouts like GCCM and custom siege maps for campaigns. I haven't done enough testing with them to make sure they work. I love the idea and I appreciate the work that's gone into them. At first glance, they are definitely a vast improvement over vanilla maps, but I've also seen issues pop up related to compatibility with other mods, AI pathfinding, AI siege weapons, those sorts of things. Of course, I can't test everything myself, so this is one topic that I'd really like to hear more feedback on from all of you. Are you using these custom maps? If so, are you having any issues or not? Maybe I've just had a little bad luck myself. Alright, I know we're just starting to scratch the surface of what can be done to improve siege battles, but I think we've also made some very tangible improvements with just a few quick and easy additions. These are the mods I think give the most bang for the buck, but please let me know if you want me to keep going and dig in deeper, because there are, of course, a heck of a lot of other problems in these battles, along with mods we can use to fix some, but sadly not all, of them. If you're keeping score, here is a summary of the mod suggestions so far. Garrison mod, tougher siege tweaks, no real-time building reborn. And here are some other options: increased range, fire arc, and health for wall towers, ass ladders be gone, GCCM, and custom siege maps for campaigns. Please let me know what I missed. I know I don't even have to say that because you all will do that anyway, and I love you for it. As always, I appreciate the feedback and support so many of you have given already, and just know I wouldn't and couldn't be doing this if not for all of you. If you want to see more stuff like this, please like and subscribe, as it helps me know what to focus my time on, and it helps get these videos out in front of more people since I'm still a very small channel. And if you want to support me, I do have a Patreon page linked in the description, but of course do not feel any obligation. Anyway, with all that, thanks so much for watching and listening, and I will see you all in the next episode.